Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope everybody's having a good, productive Thursday. Um, Early this morning, very early this morning, some people consider late last night, the New York Daily News posted an article revealing a horrific idea on so many fronts, while some people are in favor of it, but not necessarily it's a good idea. Hold on one second. Just got off at North Station quickly. View of the MBTA subway system here in Boston. Um, Wesley, if you're watching, I sent you the request. You have to accept or send a request. But either way, in the meanwhile, I did a separate live video early this morning with Ricky discussing the article that was published via the New York Daily News that has, here we go, Wesley's about to be added on. I got you, Ricky. No worries. You up? Yeah.
All right.
All right,
What's up?
so let's do this. So, in continuation of what you were talking about, you were saying something about someone who may live in two extreme who may live and work in two extreme parts of the city, in which that this would absolutely be a horrible idea. Now, I want to bring up a point that I mentioned before I went live, and I said that for those that are watching live,
What up, Rick?
I said, listen, a city like Boston, we could get away with that. We're fine for 4 hours. Between 1 and 5 a.m., we're fine. Because people are not as likely to utilize the T as what we call it here. However, when in a city like New York, people who work late nights, people who work in Manhattan but may live all the way out in Queens, whether it be Long Island City, Elmhurst, Jamaica, or if you're talking in extreme fashion, we're talking like
Far Rockaway.
Exactly. It's pretty damn near inconceivable to ask someone to pay minimum $15, $20 a pop each time to utilize an Uber or a Lyft to get home, or more.
Or more.
Exactly.
Or more. Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's just like, really? So now, this talk of you raising prices, the fare that is, and now you want to eliminate late night service? Wesley, feel free to offer your thoughts, but that's not going to go well at all with a lot of New Yorkers. It's
La
not.
parte de atrás hay que darle eso o es con tornillo.
Well, here's the thing with that.
No es la que aprieta.
Number one, you can't do that. You really can't, because I am gonna explain it like this.
Hold on.
New York alone is an expensive city to live on.
Okay, to pick up something. Check. Wrights, ball game.
Right.
Hold on. Yeah, continue. Rights,
Yeah,
W-R-G-T-S.
so for starters alone, it doesn't matter where you live in the city limits of New York. It's very expensive to live in.
Ball game. Hold on. Wes,
Not
pause.
everyone. All right.
Not casual. Last name is Wrights. Shukri Wrights. That's me. Thank you.
Hold on, I'll keep going once you has clearance to like interject and all that stuff. All right. Hey, Ricky, if yeah, use it for the show. Take some ideas. I am going to use a point that you have brought, but that's what I was saying. The cost for living in New York City alone is expensive. It doesn't matter if you live in Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah. On top of that, too, to find a job that can suit all that stuff, as far as like living expenses, your bills, and all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, especially for a person that, you know, maybe has a $20,000 per year job.
Right, or $30,000.
$20,000 per year job. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's difficult. You know, this is not like 1990s where it was fairly easy. I wouldn't say easy,
it was
fair.
actually easier and manageable. That's the difference.
Yeah. Not everybody has the luxury to have a car. And even if you have a car in here in New York City and Manhattan, to be exact, I said it before, it's a death wish to the wallet.
It is.
It's a death wish to the wallet.
And many of you guys know that before I moved to Boston, actually just a year ago, I used to commute from New York to Philadelphia. But even paying weekly commuting in New York City, it's a lot and it adds up. You take away the late night service, not only that you're not really getting a bang for your buck, but now you have to spend even more for Uber and Lyft. And it's which is crazy because it's like, again, someone could be only making $20,000 a year. Someone can only be making, like,
roughly 30,000.
Exactly. It's truly.
I mean, if you're nowhere near like 50,000 and above, yeah, you're gonna have some trouble living in New York.
Absolutely.
Period. In the city.
Yeah.
That's why some people have moved to Long Island, Connecticut,
and which is a phenomenal
Jersey,
point. Yeah, Jersey, yes, including New Jersey, yes.
But I heard some stuff about Jersey, how it can be expensive too, especially if you used to move out. They will dick you with the exit tax at least one more time.
Yeah.
But that's not the point here. This city is vital. It needs the subway system.
24/7.
It needs the subway system. And to bring up Ricky's, yes, it does. The last time that the subway system was shut down completely, that was 2005. It didn't affect me so much because my school was like across the street.
But it affected me greatly because. But Wesley, hold on a second. It affected me greatly because, one, I grew up and lived in, hey Helen, I grew up and lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn. You know where that is, how deep that is. My high school where I attended at the time, this is fall of 2005 we're talking about when the MTA strike happened. And if y'all remember how much it impacted the city then. I lived in Bushwick.
That was about 12 years ago.
I lived in Bushwick at the time. My high school was over in Bedford-Stuyvesant on Bedford Avenue. But for someone that lives in Queens but has to travel to school, this is talking like during the day in the very least, that has to travel to school from one borough to another borough, it's like you make it pretty hard and pretty difficult. It's like, come on. And now, again, it goes back to the whole livelihood issue. The issue that I have with that is this. You claim that Uber is actually taking money from the MTA, but if you really think about it, that's quite the contrary. Because if you think about it, people have choices. You can take the subway or you can take Uber. But again, depending on
you can take the yellow cab.
Exactly.
Still running.
But if you are in fact living in one extreme end of the city and you get into another extreme end of the city, that's not always going to be a viable case. Because as I talked about,
the next Orange Line train to Forest Hills is now approaching.
Like,
Helen, I get that you never use Uber or Lyft, but at some cases, there's people that have no choice but to do that. Look, sometimes when I come from Danielle's house, I have to use a freaking Uber or Lyft. Because I'm going to tell you why. Because I would have to wait for that 82 bus.
That 82 bus is death.
It's
death, especially late nights. Fuck that. Yeah.
And it's not that. Sometimes I would, most of the time actually, 95% of the time, I would take the L train to Canarsie and then either take a taxi or whatever and shit. There's times where they shut down the freaking L train early that I had to leave like that. Right? Where, like last week, I almost got fucking stranded. Because luckily I caught the last L train going into Manhattan. Because they were going to shut it down from Canarsie up into Bedford Avenue. That's it. And it wouldn't go to... Yeah, it wouldn't go past Bedford Avenue. Which, yesterday they did the same thing again, from Monday to Thursday. Now think of it this way. Remember how they're talking about shutting down the L train completely or halfway shutting it so they are going to do it. Finish the heart of it, which is
under the East River Tunnel.
They are going to do it. Now think of this. If they was to shut every fucking subway line down like that, from Monday to Thursday at night, well, here's the thing. You got to study the peak hours. You got to study the off-peak hours and the peak hours. You also got to study what times that the people get on the train the most. Because you can't just shut it down like that Monday through Thursday. I used to work graveyard shifts in LaGuardia.
I remember that.
And the way I would get home would be the M60. Would be the M60 going to 125th, and then I would take either the bus home or the 6 train home.
Yeah.
There were some cases where I would wait a pretty long effing time for the M60. That I would have to take, I think it's the Q72, I don't remember exactly. But I would have to take it to Roosevelt Avenue, Jackson Heights. Just to get back home. A long way. Where, in cases, I wouldn't get home until like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, Ricky, your point was that the MTA was losing money to Uber and Lyft. I don't know how I could see that kind of valid. I mean, I kind of understand, but at the same time, I don't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if that was the case, the MTA would have lost money years ago when it was just gypsy cabs. Where people would dial 212,
or
718,
917.
whatever the hell the numbers were, and they... where they would have a cab in front of their door. Now, your argument about the Ubers and the Lyfts taking over the gypsy cab companies in Marine Park, that I can agree with. Because people want their shit on demand. They don't want to wait 20 minutes for a goddamn cab. Now, I can understand that point, but the MTA, I don't know, because the MTA, if I do recall well, they are a government corporation. And a government corporation has money over a small corporation like Uber. That if they wanted to, they could monopolize the New York chapter of Uber and Lyft, buy them out, and take a tax division out of their own and then compete with the TLC even more.
Yeah.
Like for example, Access Ride. For the disabled people that can't really use actual public transportation, they have that small hub of public transportation that would be right in front of their house.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that now, and I want to go back briefly to touch on Ricky's point of what he said a few minutes ago. He was saying, to your point of moving to Long Island, it's a contradiction because you pay more in taxes, which is correct. So you don't really want to escape extra stuff. Same thing with New Jersey as well. Travel out in Long Island, in New Jersey, you need a car because public transportation is just as dead. It's dead after a certain time. You see. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Take it from someone that lived in New Jersey once upon a time.
Okay.
And I know
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Right, what package is? 6C, 5G, 5A, 4E, 3D, 5H, 1F, 1. 3E.
2C.
Okay. Back to what you were saying?
There's a ticket for someone that lived in New Jersey at once upon a time. And I know New Jersey Transit, commuter rail, although it's different, it's obviously different as compared to the subway system.
Yeah, that's
but after a certain point in time, the buses stopped running. The regional trains stopped running. So for most people, that's really the only way that they really have. And again, it brings up the necessity that you have to have a car. But the thing now, which is in New York City, it is within the 5 boroughs, the problem that you have is this. And this was another point that we talked about prior to coming on live, was that not everybody's financial situation is the same. Not everybody can afford to buy a car, and it's not even just at least not as a debt. But then on top of that, to add on to it, it's not just as simple as just owning a car. There are other financial obligations, responsibility that comes with it. Car type.
There's that possible fear of parking tickets.
And exactly, parking tickets.
And the possible fear of parking tickets.
Yeah. It's like, dude. So like that's like a whole other thing. So that's why I'm like, I really hope I hope and pray for New York State that the AMC does not follow through with this, because there really will be grave. Go ahead. My mother also used Accessorize when she was in New York many years ago, so I know exactly what Ricky's talking about in terms of Accessorize.
I do know too.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Ricky, I do agree with your point that the technology gives you that on-demand control of whenever you want it and however you want it. I get that. But to do it on a weekly basis, that's another thing. To do it on a weekly basis, because, people got bills, people got this, people got that. It all adds up. It's just like me with the weekly Metro card. Now I'm going to start shifting to the monthly, because now that I calculated,
you're gonna have to
paying $32 a week. I'm taking more out of my paycheck.
You're paying $128 over the course of 4 weeks, which is a month. But now for
a year basis,
monthly for the MT, how much is it? Still $116, or did they raise the prices for that?
No, it's up to $121.
You might as well do it.
It's still expensive.
You might as well do the monthly.
It's still expensive, but it's best to do the monthly now. Absolutely. At this point.
You might as well, because it makes no type of sense at all. But to continue, thank you, Helen. But to continue on, why? I mean, I hope that they don't continue, like they don't seriously pursue this idea, because I mean, the amount of people that is going to be affected by this is truly something to be worried about. Absolutely, you absolutely should be very concerned, because it's like, dude, you take away at the end, you take away the late night service. You realize that the path system is the only transit system in the New York metropolitan area that'll run 24/7. But it doesn't do anybody that lives in New York City any good, unless if you're going out to New Jersey, whether if you're going to Hoboken, Jersey City, or Newark.
Yeah.
It doesn't do them any good if there's no service in New York.
Remember, they tried to shut down the PATH train at a certain time, and it wasn't gonna work.
Say that again.
Remember, it was on the news that they were talking about shutting down the PATH train at a certain time, and that wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
This was maybe like 2-3 years ago. I remember seeing a news report on like YouTube and shit like that.
What was that? I didn't catch that.
It was about shutting down the PATH. Yeah, shutting down the PATH train at a certain time.
That was
for whatever reason it was. If I could find it.
Go ahead. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
That report. Now it was.
You know what I'm talking about.
It was a horrible idea, dude. They did that out of necessity after Hurricane Sandy, because the damage in the Hudson tunnels was so fucking. They didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice, especially at the World Trade Center station. That the damage was so severe, and I remember this, like weekends. Here's the thing, weekends. He was limited to no service on the path, so that they can actually do the repairs. That's specifically if you were traveling to a World Trade Center on the path, but the path system wide. They did what they needed to do right after Sandy, and that took about a good year plus. But to make that a permanent idea, it was like that wasn't going to work. Come on, you have people that live in Jersey City that commute to Manhattan to go to work, whether it be at the World Trade Center or in Manhattan or in Midtown
or vice versa.
Midtown. Dude, that's impossible. Or in Soho, that's impossible.
It is, and vice versa. There's people that live in New York, work in Jersey, and people that live in Jersey that work in New York, and they have to use that because the New Jersey Transit ain't gonna run always on a 24/7 basis. And you know, Ricky, I get that your coworkers do use Uber because of the MTA, and dude, I fucking hate the MTA, but at the same time, I need that shit because number one, I don't have a car, and two, it would be difficult for me to like really, from my estimation, I'm all the way in Briarwood, and I live all the way in East Harlem, so
yeah, and that's a deep shot.
That would possibly be like a $60 ride. Yeah, I can't do that every week. I can't. But the thing is, I don't work overnights. Now, if I did work overnights, you know, as you said, I would have to be forced to use it because I would want to get home, but at the same time, it's a catch-22
You're fucking your pockets, basically, by doing that.
It will be useful, but it'll be hurtful.
Yeah.
So, you just can't shut down
It's hard.
You just can't do it on a Monday through Thursday basis. You can't do that. Now, with Sunday, if you decide to... Because, look, I understand that they shut down certain train lines on the weekend, such as the B train.
Correct, yes.
Did they shut down the W train? I'm not
sure.
W?
I don't know if the W...
They shut down the W train.
Wow.
Yeah, on weekends. That, you know, I could understand or whatever. There's certain train lines that only run on a 5-day basis and take off on a 2-day basis.
Yeah.
For example, like the M train from Monday through Friday on a certain time. The last train that goes to Forest Hills would be at 9:35. DM train. How I know? Because I used to take the E train going to 51st, but now I don't need to do that since the 2nd Avenue line is up, and I can just whatever. Yeah. And then weekends it doesn't run to Forest Hills, which is the last stop on Queens.
You talking about the R? Or what train are you talking about?
I'm talking about the M.
They don't run out their weekends. Right.
And you do have a point, Ricky, and it's true. Either way, someone is going to get screwed. And you know what? I remember coming back from Danielle's house. I was waiting for a long time for the bus. It said it was going to be there 0 minutes. What happened? There was a shooting in her complex or whatever and shit, and I was waiting for a bus. And it wasn't until she gave me money for a taxi, and then I had the next day when I came to her house again, I took an Uber. I mean a Lyft, same shit. And the guy who's the Lyft driver, he's like, you know, I get that this is efficient, but like, why do people need to pay $20 for a safe ride?
Yeah.
20. Like, your safety is
it's not worth $20.
Like, your money should not be it should not be worth money, period. It should be a natural thing. And he also made the point that the Uber can be safe and it can be near safe
it can be dangerous
because you don't know who the hell the driver is. They can tell you who the driver is.
If that person is a rapist or like a person that's capable of sexual assault. You don't know. Yeah. And
you don't know. So really, that $20 for your safety?
Catch-22. And that's another catch-22 right there.
That's a catch-22. Like shit, you might as well give me a bulletproof vest when I get inside that Uber, depending on the neighborhood I'm in.
Basically.
You want to talk about me paying for my fucking safety, right? Shit. The point is, the MTA better think thoroughly.
I really hope they do.
They better think thoroughly.
I genuinely hope they do because we're talking about. Hold up, I just want to get off this train real quick. Because the reality is, they are fucking with people's livelihood, and that is not something that's going to sit well with a lot of people. They really are.
No, it's not.
You know, it's
not.
I don't know.
And going back to what you were saying too about like a person living in the Bronx, working in the Bronx, but lives in
for example,
let's say he works a graveyard shift. They shut down the train. Holy shit, he is screwed. He or she is screwed.
Yeah.
Because as you said, even though it's gonna run local late at night because the C train tends to shut down at a certain time.
Yeah.
That's a long fucking
You got a journey.
ride.
You got a journey and a half. Now I'm gonna throw in a very brief comedic spin to this. Say someone who lives all the way up in Wakefield section of the Bronx. Hey, y'all motherfuckers know that Wakefield is basically the border of the Bronx and Westchester, basically, or at the end of the 2 and the 5.
Yeah.
But they gotta travel all the way down either downtown or somewhere in Brooklyn. You turn around and you tell me, honestly, that they're gonna try to pay whatever, God knows how much Uber is gonna pay for that surge? Fuck you. Nope. I sure as hell wouldn't. No.
It's not gonna work. It's just not. And then, I try to bring up the argument of it. If they decide that, okay, I don't want to take the A train, maybe I'll catch the LIRR. Yeah, that, you were right, because about that, unless you really know the LIRR really well on what to avoid and what not to avoid, there's lines that shut down for the rest of the night.
Right.
which means that they run on a scheduled basis. Not a 24-hour basis, but like a scheduled basis. Whereas like from this time to this time, we're running. After that, you gotta wait till the next day. You're
Wow.
screwed. Or maybe
Basically,
3
yeah.
hours.
Ricky is saying I did that for my frat. I hated that ride on the. I'm telling you, that ride is murder.
No.
I don't blame you at all. I really don't blame you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Cinco Watcher. That sounds like murder.
I'm good with that, thanks. I ain't with it though. I'm straight.
Yeah, I could kind of relate to that because there has been times where I would have to take Danielle back to Sheepshead Bay to meet her mom and shit on the Q train.
Yeah.
Now imagine going from Sheepshead Bay back to 96th Street, which is the last stop in Manhattan, as we know as of now, until they extend it even more. The wait for that fucking Q train.
Wow.
The wait for that. The ride could be, well, the ride I tend to feel be fast because I tend to fall asleep on the train.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't like to do that
happens.
because I'm afraid there might be a fucking crack-headed bum that decides, but it happens. You can't control it.
Oh, totally.
Now imagine that. I mean, if the train doesn't come till like fucking 12, I won't get home till maybe like 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, that was the case for a lot of people that had to make that deep ass trip. Nah, because we all know those trains are running low. There's barely any express trains running in the city at that late at night. Barely. Maybe a handful tops.
Yeah.
The 4 train, sometimes it's a hit and miss. If they're doing construction along the Lexington Avenue line.
Actually, no.
What?
The 4 train actually. Once it hits, I think 11 o'clock or 11:30, or sometimes 12 o'clock, it's running local.
I've seen that. I've witnessed that on many a times myself. But yes,
it's running. It runs local. Yeah. It runs local.
And if that's running all the way out to Crown Heights in Brooklyn, good luck. Good luck with that.
Because that's gonna take the 6 train route up until where it needs to get to
Brooklyn Bridge. Meaning, and then it'll switch over to the appropriate track, and then into Fulton Street. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a long fucking ride. There was another case where I kind of got stranded too, but I was forced to take the 4 train back home. Yeah. Because, alright, I took the L train back to 14th. Great. The L train was running normal. For a certain amount of stops, the Q train was running on the F line, and after 63rd, it went back on its normal route.
Don't you hate that?
Which I couldn't get.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. And when I had to get home, I had to get home on the low 4 train.
Those that are just joined in live, we're talking about a proposal that has been leaked and it's been uncovered by the New York Daily News that the MTA is strongly considering shutting down late night service Monday through Thursday, system-wide. So this article was actually posted
system-wide Monday through Thursday. That's bad.
Monday through Thursday. The article was posted a little bit after 1 o'clock this morning. I caught wind of it and did a live video earlier discussing it. But now this is part 2, which is a bit more a bit more extensive. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This is not a farce. This is very much a strong possibility.
I got 40. 2 of them. Yeah, 6A.
Ricky, you're welcome anytime, man.
Those, I'll wait.
Ricky, LWR was held.
Ricky, my pleasure, man.
I don't get me started on the LIRR, but oh boy. But anyway,
Don't get me started neither.
But in any case, I'm gonna have to end this live video because I have to do what I gotta do for the afternoon. But as furthermore as the story develops,
and so do I.
we'll talk more about it, and I'll definitely bring it to light and share with you guys. Hopefully, and I really do hope and pray that the MTA does not go through this because it's all around a really horrific idea. But with the MTA, you really just never know at this point, and that's just what's become the sad reality of dealing with the agency. So there's that. But nevertheless, bro, gotta go. Those that are watching live, thank you for watching. Go over to the New York Daily News Facebook page where the article is,
or just look up MTA shutdown if you can't find it. You'll find it on Google.
MTA overnight shutdown of service.
Shutdown.
Yeah. Exactly. But all right, guys, have a good afternoon, Wesley. I'll talk to you later, my brother.
You too, bro. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
All right, peace.